This video has been a long time coming, and I really appreciate the patience of my Giallorossi fans here, because it's now time to talk about AS Roma of Italy. Roma were founded in the 1920s as a merger of three clubs within the city of Rome, with an eye on being able to compete against northern Italian teams, which had dominated the country at that point. The only club within the city that did not join that merger were their most eternal rivals and hated rivals, Lazio. Their nickname Giallorossi means the Yellow Reds, as well as their second nickname for the club overall, La Lupa, or the She-Wolf, which you can see on their badge, comes from the founding myth of Rome, and on the badge you can also see Romulus and Remus from the same founding myth. They can boast 3 Serie A titles, with the latest coming in 2001, just one season after their hated rivals Lazio won it. They also have 9 Coppa Italia titles, but their most cherished and latest title has to be the Europa Conference title from last season, their first in European competition in a very long time, as well as first piece of silverware under current manager Jose Mourinho. So I've mentioned Lazio a couple times now to really drive home the fact that Roma hates Lazio. They're both based within the same stadium, the Stadio Olimpico within Rome. The derby there is a very impassioned and generally violent one amongst fans. And for those reasons, the Derby della Capitale is generally the one that means the most to the city as well as both clubs, and goes far beyond Roma's other rivalries that they have with Atalanta, Napoli in the south, as well as Juventus and both clubs from Milano. So let's get into some of their former players. First, let's talk about Roberto Pruzzo, who was a striker for them in the 1980s and won the Capocannoniere 3 times, Capocannoniere being the title for the greatest goal scorer in the league each season. Second, one of my favorite Argentines of all time, Gabriel Batistuta, played for them after having played for the club that he's most famous for playing for in Italy, Fiorentina. And many more players have come through Roma are very important, but if you take away one name, it has to be Francesco Totti. You cannot talk about this club without mentioning his name. He is one of the most loyal players that has ever played the game worldwide, having only ever played for Roma. He played for them for 25 professional years and 4 years in his youth, almost 30 years with the same club. He would not leave. He played almost 800 games for them, scoring over 300 goals. He is one of the finest forwards that has ever played for Italy. So I'll talk about existing talent that they've brought up, as well as 2 key players they brought in last season, and finally their best player that they've drawn in this season. Niccolò Zaniolo is the young player to mention, who they're bringing up pretty well. He's an attacking midfielder and a great young Italian talent. In the last couple seasons, they've done something that's rare in Italy, which is bring in English players, with Chris Smalling from Manchester United, as well as Tammy Abraham coming over from Chelsea, being very important in defense and in attack. And one of their most impressive signings of this century has to be Paulo Dybala, the Argentine, known as La Joya, or the Jewel, who they brought in this offseason for free from Juventus, and is a really important factor in this club moving up the table from where they currently stand. So this has been your long-awaited video on AS Roma.